Okay, coming back with the 3 p.m. turn 3, Battle of Piedmont, Death Valley scenario for the 160th playthrough. So at the end of 3 p.m. turn, a bit has changed here, but biggest thing is that the Union is still having problems over here. Moore's brigade is having a lot of problems. They've had to retreat back here to recover as best they can. We've got some, like the 116th Ohio here, that have collapsed. They're down to 6 strength over here. They really got whacked pretty good. We've still got the 20th Ohio. They're disordered right there. They're still in good shape with the other half of them sitting right here. But the Connecticut, 18th Connecticut, is also collapsed here as well. They've kind of closed the line around here to hold off the 60th Battalion, the 60th Virginia, and 45th Virginia, as well as one more here. What is this? 36th Virginia. This ad hoc attack over here, pushed them forward. Took a little bit of casualties here in the attack, but Moore definitely got the worst of it and has had to stabilize his line over here. Now, Jones himself has not pushed beyond this position here. One, it's a little bit tricky because if he goes too far, Thorburn could come back at him and he could be in trouble pretty quick himself. Big decision about what to do next with them over there. Pull back to the breastworks or stay out in front of the lines and just let the other side keep going. Over here, the other half of the 60th and 36th are holding off the little ridge up here, holding off Wincoops. 20th and 22nd PA, they haven't done much because they've been out of command. They may swing back and try to hit on the flank here next turn, but one of the problems is Stahl only had 2 activations, so he couldn't really do much. And we'll see what he did do here in a moment. Thorburn over here as well. He started the attack over here, but good rifle fire from Brown's units of the 45th Virginia pushed back the 34th Massachusetts. In fact, they almost collapsed them over here with the attack, but they were able to recover. They're holding out this line over here on the edge of Sullivan's, while Thorburn himself is trying to rally these 2 units back here, the 2nd Maryland Eastern Shore and the 5th PA. 5th PA rallied, Eastern Maryland didn't. So that's going to have to be for next turn. 12th West Virginia, other half of the 54th PA, have moved up in support of this and also supporting Stahl's attack, which we'll take a look at here in a moment. They exchanged some fire here with Vaughn, but Vaughn's units and Harper's units have filled in this gap pretty well and made it tough for the Union to advance over here, especially with just a couple of regiments. So now let's tip you up here and take a look at Stahl's attack. That was really the highlight, I guess, of the 3 o'clock turn for the USA player. Here we had Stahl dismounting most of his, or McReynolds dismounting most of his units and attacking through the woods. Attacked across here and actually flanked Davis's Maryland brigade right here. If we can get it to zoom in. There we go, a little bit. Anyways, he was wiped out, flanked over here on the other half of the, on the other side of the woods. And consequently, they moved up here and pushed the Augusta unit back with a threatened assault or shock. And the Augusta unit fell back across here. But that gained the Union 2 victory points and also is now threatening this victory hex over here way to the Confederates' right, as well as potentially this over here if they can break the line over in here. But this is cavalry against cavalry over here, so pretty much straightforward match. It's all going to depend upon what happens here in the center, whether if the Union can break through here as well to get that. But they're going to have to regroup a little bit and try to knock through the center here as well, as hopefully Moore can recover and maybe shift over a little bit to guard from any Confederate excursions from the left in here as well. So all in all, Union has kind of taken a step back. As I said, they got hit last turn at the 2 p.m. turn, and now they're kind of back on their heels again after their incredible advance, into these breastworks over here. Thought the Confederates were going to be routing, but they recovered and counterattacked pretty effectively across there. So that's where we are at the end of turn. The third turn, 3 p.m. turn. Move on to the 4 p.m. turn. There's just 2 more turns left, 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. to see if the Union can break through, grab these victory hexes. They've got to take a majority away from the Confederates, otherwise the Confederates are going to have an easy victory on there as well. So we'll see what happens. Stay tuned for the next one. Okay, here we are at the 4 p.m. turn, and a little bit of change, not a whole heck of a lot. It's now getting a little attritional here with the infantry side of the house here with Battle of Piedmont. So over here with B. Jones and Brown, they tried to attack over here, but Thorburn and Moore's units had basically knocked them back. So that's kind of put them back, and there's no sense for them to continue the attack over here with them getting more casualties from the battle if they continue to attack over here. So they kind of pull back here, a little advanced here. This might pull back here next turn. Big thing, Thorburn tried to push here against Vaughn and Harper over here. Several losses. There was a loss of the 54th PA B Battalion when it tried to go up here to give support to Stahl's attack up in through here. Kind of knocked back some of the cavalry, but the cavalry were just too strong for them to push back, as well as Harper's units here providing some support in there as well. So from the infantry perspective, it's kind of winding up to be a little bit of an attritional battle here going into the last turn. Cavalry, on the other hand, Stahl's cavalry is pushing hard through the woods. They had some shock attacks over here. Pushed back on Imboden. A number of these units were disrupted or disordered. Imboden had to come up to recover units. Same thing for McReynolds' troops. They came up. Stahl came up to push the attack. Tried a cavalry charge up here to the north. That failed. The units were pushed back over here. And, the Confederate cavalry line kind of held up here to the north. But they're still vulnerable over here to potential attacks and possibly taking this hex. I doubt if any of the other hexes down here, Piedmont, and here are threatened at any point. Also, the Confederates will have line of supply off the board, with this as well. So, looking at this is pushing towards a Confederate victory at the moment. Right now, in terms of victory points, with the cavalry losses, it's 5-4 for the Union. They're one up on the Union here with the victory points, but Confederates will pick up 5, 10, 15, possibly 20, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 points if they hold all of them here, which will be very decisive for them in the end. So we're moving on to 5 p.m. turn, and we'll get that and wrap it up from there, and I'll have that video and also my thoughts on the game and the battle itself. And the command structure here as well. So far, command has not come into play too much here because Hunter has been able to command very well with Sullivan and Thorburn and everybody else over here as well. But we'll talk about that more later. So stay tuned for 5 p.m. turn. Okay, here we are, 5 p.m. turn. Battle of Piedmont. Winding up the game. It was actually a lot of fun. First off, I want to say had a little bit of back and forth seesaw, including this last turn, which I'll go over here in a few seconds. But a really good little small scenario, quick play, five turns. So it's it's not real bad. A lot of action, a lot of interesting stuff that came out here. Although there is some things that we'll talk about later. So, anyways, let's get on to it. 5 p.m. turn. So with the 5 p.m. turn, Grumble Jones moved his men back. They've got a commanding lead here. They've got all the victory hexes. There was some threat up here. I'll show you here in a minute by the cavalry, which we watched all along. But down here, these hexes all the way into Piedmont, totally fine. Confederates are in full control of them, and there's no problem. Although I will say that Moore didn't give up the attack. Same with Thoburn over here. It's just they couldn't deal with the numbers and the abilities that the Confederates were able to do over here. So first off, Moore rallied what was left of the troops over here to charge up the hill and attack Jones as he pulled back, because Jones's units here, they're not the paper values on here. They're actually 3, and I think over here is 2. And you can see a couple of these had collapsed and actually had to pull the 2 units over here over into battle to fight off Moore that was holding off this ridge over here, and kind of had to swap them around a little bit because a lot of them had disordered and retreated. In fact, one of them collapsed. The 36th B Battalion of his units collapsed in there as part of Moore's attack. So it still wasn't over yet, and actually Moore was able to drive them back and capture the guns for a second time. That's 2 times they captured the guns. But Jones, again, was able to rally units and then get, like I said, another couple of units over here into attack and basically beat off Moore from holding the Lewisburg guns on here as well. Thoburn came over to try to give some support to try to hit the 45th with fire, 45th Virginia with fire. That didn't work out. They were fine. They were actually disordered from their facing change, but they were able to recover as well within here. So consequently, the last action here, they pushed in, but they couldn't hold on yet again for the second time on here. Center kind of petered out, back and forth firing, but the Confederates, Vaughn's units, Harper's units got the better of Thoburn's units over there. To the north, or I should say north, that is the east, we have the cavalry engaging over here. McReynolds' units were able to push back Imboden. Imboden lost quite a few units. In fact, the victory totals, without counting the victory hexes, there's actually 9 for the Union, 7 for the Confederates. So 9 Confederate step losses of cavalry were lost versus the Union's 7 cavalry steps. All happened over here. There was a charge up here, failed miserably, as these guys, this dismounted cavalry was able to open fire on them point blank, drive them back, and continue to drive them back. Subsequently, these guys lost command. They couldn't recover the second time, and was having problems because McReynolds and actually Stahl came up here as well, concentrated on coming out of the woods and trying to break through and get to this hex. Well, these guys coming up here as well, but just didn't materialize. Imboden held out, took quite a few casualties on there as well. So there you can see the final turns, or the final action here. Like I said, I liked this battle. It was very quick, very easy. I think 2 people could play this very simple. one in an afternoon, maybe a long afternoon, but very easily can be played in here. My only criticisms with this is more with the historical aspect of it versus the game aspect of it. I felt the Union had a tough time trying to break the lines, although Moore did it twice over here, had a tough time doing it. Historically, Moore had a tough time. Thoburn came over and broke through over here. I think it's really hard because I kind of went that same route, and Jones is able to pick that up and deploy Vaughn and Harper over here as well to kind of string out Thoburn's attack and make it a little bit harder for them to get into line over there as well. A couple things much different than the historical one. First off, Grumble Jones, he was actually killed in this battle. And that was a big factor to the Confederate retreat. In my playthrough, you can see he's right here, survived, right in the middle of the field, holding out with a strong unit. I think that's Thomas's Legion or something, Brewer's Battalion on there, and they're a strength of 8, so very strong, 400 men there, holding out in the center. So that was a big factor to be able to hold them into line. Also got some very good performance from the other Jones, B. Jones's brigade over here. They did disorder, but they recovered very quickly. We had some good dice rolls with recovery over here. And I think that's because, their cohesion is 7s to the U.S.'s 6s. I don't think that's too far off. But reading the historical accounts through various forms, books and first-hand documents, it sounded like that Jones's units over here were kind of an ad hoc group. He was in control of B. Jones and Brown coming up from East Tennessee, but Vaughn was a separate group, and Imboden was a separate group over here. And I think the cohesion amongst them all is stronger than historically was there, and that made it a little bit tougher for the Union. I think the Union being roughly 6 across the infantry and 5s across the cavalry is about right. I think the Union got a lot of tough rolls and couldn't recover as quick, which feels about right. Just feels that the Confederates are a little bit stronger than they actually were at the historical battle. Confederates also have some advantage too. They are defending the terrain. They have very good defensible terrain here. There is a gap here, and this is a little open over here, but they have fortified. You do have the ability to fortify 12 hexes across here as well, so that gives them an advantage there as well. So, all in all, I think it's okay. It's just a couple of little things that just don't bring it historically into perspective from my point of view. From a command perspective, I think this was a very good study. Hunter being a corps commander and having essentially a small corps, and having to command Sullivan wherever he's over here, and Stahl over here, as well as the brigades under there, I think is about right. I did have one thing that I was kind of concerned about as well, and that's the efficiencies. The Union gets this. They get a 3 and a couple of 2s, whereas the Confederates get 3s, get a 4, 3s, and 2s. Now, again, luck would have it, probably 3 out of the 5 turns, Confederates got this, and I think 3 out of the 5 turns the Union got the 2. So that kind of skewed it a little bit in the play for me. But this feels a little strong from my perspective. It feels a little strong for the Confederates over here. Going forward, I might eliminate the 4 here for the Confederates and leave them with a 3 and a 2. I think that might give a little bit more balance. I do think this is about right for the Union, just those 3, and skewed towards the 2. This would be a little bit more balanced with the 3. Oh, I just noticed I'm put it in the wrong spot and the camera isn't on. I apologize for that. There we go. So going back here again, they have 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, and then 2, 2, 3. So like I said, feels a little out of balance towards the Confederates. Might eliminate that like that to make it a little bit more balanced, I think, for the AM draw on there. But very good play, good command study in terms of what Hunter had to do. I felt Hunter, there is a possibility of doing it. It's a slight chance. You got to get all the dice rolls just right to do it. Jones has a very strong position. I think Jones's position is very good, as long as he can keep his command together. Of course, if he's lost, I think that really sews it up for the Union as well. So, anyways, that's my Battle of Piedmont for the 160th playthrough of the battle, June 5th, 1864. Using Death Valley, GMT, Death Valley, and the expansion. This is in the expansion. Battles for the Shenandoah. Sneak that in there as well. So, good scenario. Couple of good ones on here. As I said, you could go for the bigger one, just to plug that again. There's a bigger one that runs longer than this. This runs 5 turns. The bigger one runs, I think, close to 10 or 11 turns. Yeah, it starts at 6 a.m., so I think that's about 10 or 11 turns, 12 maybe, which has more cavalry engagements up front and really formulates the battle that we have down here. This I found great afternoon play for my 160th anniversary here. So, hope you enjoy it, and please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment, and look forward to the next playthrough with this. That will probably be upcoming next. It's probably going to be early in the valley. Sounds like a morning radio show. But yeah, Jubal Early will be coming into the valley and pushing out Hunter, and then heading north down the valley to threaten Washington. So we'll see you on those videos once that time comes around. Have a great day. Okay, just one more segment. I just realized I didn't finish filming an outro to Battle of Piedmont videos and give you final totals in terms of where we stood with everything. So here we are looking at the 2 data cards for both the Union and Confederates on there. You see the last numbers here. Union had 9 to 7. That was for the cavalry numbers. But now if we add in victory point hexes, we wind up with 32 for the Confederates. Actually, move that up there. 32 for the Confederates, and just 9 for the Union. So it's a very decisive victory for the Confederates on here. And as I said, as I was coming out with it before, I really like this scenario, despite being so lopsided with this. I do think it was pretty good. Now, historically, at this point, if we come back over to the map here, historically with this use my hand there for a minute, would not have resulted in the history that has happened if this played out this way. You can see here with both Jones and Hunter's units, they pretty much wrecked each other. They're both going to go back and lick their wounds at this point. They really, both armies are going to be having problems. Now, this is probably going to be a bigger impact on the Union because they are so far up the valley that they are probably going to have to retreat, much like Sigel did after Newmarket. With Jones, his units together, but and not much is there. More than likely, what I would foresee as an alternate history stream with this particular outcome is that Hunter would fall back. Again, Grant would be disappointed with his commander in there, and he would probably have to shift units from the Army of Potomac sooner rather than later. So he probably would have shifted more units over there, or even shifted some out of Washington to reinforce this, because they were in pretty tough shape. Now we still had Crook out there in West Virginia. He could have helped out and reinforced here as well. But this probably would have drawn more reinforcements. If Jones stayed alive and Jones was able to keep his command together like this, more than likely he would have become the senior officer for the Shenandoah Valley Theater within here. Lee would still have a conundrum of adding troops to that. Now the difficulty would be, where did he get the troops? And probably if Grant was stripping out from Potomac, Lee would do the same thing to keep in step with it there as well. But the bigger thing, it wouldn't have had the strategic impact that Hunter's victory actually had. Hunter's victory at this point allowed him to basically take control of the entire Upper Valley. He was able to control and basically do what he wanted in terms of the infrastructure there, which had a lot of war manufacturing facilities in Staunton, Virginia, as well as commanding Lexington and the other areas there as well as commanding the rail line that supported that as well. So he would be able to control this. He was able to control this all the way, pretty much from Waynesboro, all the way across the valley, and basically cut off any types of supplies, food, weapons, etc., from them. Now, when he was here in the historical perspective, he did do quite a bit of damage. Stories and the official words on this vary amongst them, depending upon who you talk with. Many have focused on Hunter just destroying military wares, that would be foundries, blacksmiths, etc., as well as institutes, colleges, and the BMI. Both were wrecked by him in terms of stopping any type of officer training or any type of cadet training in the southern ranks there. So this had a big effect historically because now Lee actually had to send units out here to deal with them, and he sent Early with the Second Corps to take care of Hunter and to push him back. Ultimately, he did kind of almost bloodless. There was a few skirmishes and things like that, but Hunter, once he saw that the Second Corps was coming out there, felt he did not have enough troops, even when he united with Crook, and he retreated into West Virginia and eventually into Ohio. Went all the way back to Ohio, which really took him out of the war, and left Early in command of the Valley. Jones was killed historically. Early was in control of that, and then Lee basically gave him full command to do whatever he could do, to go back down the valley, threatening not only key cities like Harper's Ferry, Martinsburg, Winchester, etc., that the Union held quite handily, but also threatened into Maryland and ultimately D.C., which we'll see in some of our future playthroughs. But for this one, coming back to this, this is a very different situation where Jones, Grumble Jones, holds out. He would be in a position now to control the valley to some degree. He's going to need reinforcements, but Hunter is effectively knocked out, and it would have changed the course quite a bit. It would have kept Lee in control. It would have made it harder for Grant to even do what he did. Now, this is roughly about the same time as Cold Harbor battles are happening there as well, so he's taking a lot of casualties over there. So he would have, with this outcome, he would have a dilemma with how he was going to try to reinforce, because with this army has to lick its wounds. It needs reinforcements, but his army, after Cold Harbor, is having the same problems. It needs much more reinforcements from there. So it would have been a dilemma. It would have been tough on the Union side if the outcome had come to this. And Grant would have had two commanders that now failed him in the valley, and he was stymied in front of Lee, leading to more of a stalemate than he would have liked. So that's kind of some of the history behind it, some of the alternate history I just outlined to you as well, based upon my playing of the battle. And as I said, I liked this scenario, little tweaks here and there. As I mentioned in the prayers video, I won't get back into them at all. But for the next one, we'll be moving on. Now, with Death Valley series within here, the next one is actually Cool Springs, which occurs mid-July of 1864. So we'll have that, and then as well as the Kernstown, second Kernstown is in mid-July, and a few other skirmishes around there happening too. But before that, we do have Early's excursion back down the valley and into Maryland and over towards Washington. I am going to be playing with that as well. I have actually using not Death Valley because there's no scenarios for that. But as I pointed out in my introductory video, we are going to be using the line of battle to take Washington and use that system to take a look at the battles of Moracacy and Fort Stevens in there that happened in early July. So those will be the next ones coming out. Now I know there's a lot more that happened in there. I'd love to get into some of the Overland campaign. Much too big right now, and not a lot of tactical level battles like we have here with this. But we will be handling other plays of those type of games in the future if they come out, or looking back at some of the older ones that are potentially available. Now I know Moracacy is available with the old system, the pre-2000 Great Battles of the American Civil War. I could use that, but I figured I wanted to get Fort Stevens in there as well, so that's why we went with the line of battle version of it there as well. So we may take a look at that one as well as time goes on. So once again, I hope you're enjoying these. My little historical brief here at the end for a finale, and hope you stay tuned for the next series.